Howdy folks, my name is Ryan Farley and welcome to Fiddle and Steel. This year's our debut episode and boy am I ready to get talking about some country music. So you can probably tell from the title of this video, I'm going to be talking to you all today about the impact coronavirus has had on the world of country music. I know it's a little bit of a touchy subject, but please hear me out because I think it's pretty substantial. In case you haven't heard yet, there's a virus making its way around the earth, and on its way, it's closing schools and government buildings and businesses of any kind. Basically anywhere where people will be. It's getting closed unless it's mandatory. Hospitals are having trouble keeping up with the number of patients that are entering. Grocery stores are having trouble keeping the shelves full because people are just buying whatever they can get their hands on. People are really scared, to be honest. People are making this out to look worse than it really is. It's obviously not a good thing. But people are panicking. Please don't take your advice from me. I'm not a doctor. I have no medical training. I'm a musician, and I like to talk about music, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. Any advice you get in this video about anything medical, please don't take it. As you can imagine, none of this is any good news for a musician, and that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. At this point in the United States, most bars and restaurants are being forced to close by their local governments. And if I'm being honest with y'all, I think that's completely reasonable because coronavirus is spreading like wildfire. It doesn't change the fact that this is a really difficult time for any musician and a lot of other professions too. Right now in the country music world, it's no different. All sorts of musical events are being canceled, postponed, rescheduled. I'm going to list off a few. I'm going to try my best to limit this because there's a lot of things that are being canceled. Everybody who had a show is basically getting canceled now. But I'll list off a few of the big ones. Billy Strings, Zac Brown Band, Blake Shelton, Dan and Shay, Tanya Tucker, Brooks and Dunn. All those names, they're all canceling their spring tours. They pulled the plug on it all. But they've all also rescheduled for the fall. Cody Johnson, he's had a bunch of his dates canceled, postponed, rescheduled. So that's no fun for any Cody Johnson fans. A big one, the spring leg of Sturgill Simpson's A Good Looking Tour with Tyler Childers has been canceled, and I separated this one from the rest because this comes days after Sturgill Simpson announces on Instagram that he would play his shows even if he had to wear a respirator mask and his fans had to wear hazmat suits. Obviously, it's no longer on Instagram. I did obtain it though. I don't blame Sturgill Simpson. You know, I love his music. I love Tyler Childers' music. I love a lot of music, and I don't blame any musician for their shows getting canceled. This is usually in the hands of the local government. I believe that a lot of musicians want to be out there and they want to be playing their shows, so I don't really think any musician would intentionally say, okay, I'm just going to cancel my shows after I said that I wanted to play them, or I know that I want to play them. As a musician, I know that music is fun. You wouldn't be on the road if you didn't enjoy playing music, so most of these musicians are not canceling because they don't want to play music. They're canceling because they're forced to by local governments. This goes beyond shows, though. Tyler Childers' Austin City Limits taping was also canceled, which is undoubtedly a huge bummer for anybody who's a Tyler Childers fan, as I am myself. The Houston Rodeo has been cut short for the first time in its 82-year history. The Austin Rodeo has downright been canceled, and that's because of the mayor's regulations of the number of people that can meet with one another, and it's very low. That's led to the South by Southwest Festival, also in Austin, being completely canceled. They're saying that they're probably going to have to lay off a third of their employees, and they're going to lose millions of dollars. This is no doubt a financial disaster for a lot of businesses and festivals and musicians. Some festivals are not taking such a hard hit. Coachella and Stagecoach have both rescheduled their festivals for October. The ACM Awards have been rescheduled to an unannounced date in September. And when you're listening to this and you hear all this stuff, I've been hearing a lot of stuff that's rescheduled to the fall, you realize that so many musicians are counting on this being done by the fall. Hopefully the coronavirus will be gone by the fall, but it's like important to keep in mind that if this doesn't end by the fall, it's going to be even worse for the musicians. It won't just be the small musicians taking such a hard hit. It will be the large musicians and the big people in country music and other genres too. I could continue with this all day, there's so many musicians that are really under a lot of pressure right now, and they're having financial issues, and it's really a big problem that affects almost every musician that you might listen to. I could sit here all day and list off, and I would, except that would take a really, really long time, and I really have to move on to something bigger. That's live streams. Both the legendary Grand Ole Opry and Willie Nelson's Luck Reunion were facing being postponed, or even worse, canceled. That's when the Opry returned to its roots and continued airing on WSM. Along with that, they started streaming on their network Circle All Access live videos of the Opry. A lot of musicians followed in their footsteps. Big one, like I said, Willie Nelson's Luck Reunion, that followed that, and all sorts of musicians who had their shows canceled or postponed or rescheduled or whatever was going on, they started live streaming.
I only smoke when I'm drinking. I'm only drinking when I'm down. I'm only down when I'm thinking.
I can really understand this as a musician, because it was really just musicians at home, themselves, their device, their family, and their instrument of their choice. It's a no-brainer because live streaming gives you publicity, and as a musician I can also say that playing your instrument is a great way to relieve stress. So whatever is going on, playing your instrument is going to be beneficial for you and your job as a musician. They were live streaming on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook Live.
I'm on the mort, he's all sawed off and short, yeah, he comes up about 4'2".
Oh, every honeybee fills with jealousy.
And what I thought was really cool is these musicians, because they're financially in a rough time, they created online tip jars. So they added like a Venmo to their live stream. They would just pin a comment that said their Venmo information, and people could donate to them, and a lot of people actually did. If nothing else, this is just a way for musicians to cope with their troubles. It really is beneficial for the people who can't go see their favorite musician. It's beneficial for the musician too. A lot of venues actually started stepping in too, because the venues opened up for the musician and the band to come in and live stream from. Here's Dale Watson at Hernando's Hideaway. Within these streaming platforms, there's troubles though. There's many connection issues, and at first you start thinking, well, maybe it's the musician, maybe it's their connection, maybe that's the problem. And then when you continue to watch so many live streams, because everybody's live streaming right now, you see frequent issues, and they seem to be the same exact ones, and they don't seem to be very different. So I have to say, I have to blame it on the live streaming platforms, Instagram Live, YouTube, Facebook Live. They are great for what they are, but they do have their own troubles there. A lot of times these connection issues are detrimental. Like, connection issues can be just skips, or it can be difficult to hear the audio, which it's not great when you're listening to a musician, but you can deal with it, right? Sometimes this turns into just frozen pages that last, anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. And sometimes they result in the live stream ending just because of how bad the connection issues were. I don't think that's great. If there's anything that is wrong with these live streaming platforms, it's that, and it probably needs to be improved. But I can thank the live streaming platforms for existing, because they are helping out all of my favorite musicians. Even when the live streaming platforms are working perfectly fine, a lot of people find them difficult to use if they don't normally use them. There's no instructions anywhere, there's no directions, this is what you're supposed to do. I actually caught Kid Rock, and he was having a little bit of trouble connecting.
Here, give this to me. Where's JJ?
Alright.
Hello?
You want me to text him?
Yeah, hold on.
A lot of musicians say that this live stream era is really very strange to them. The comments are distracting. That's something I heard a lot watching live streams.
I wanna be a bottle on the tower to sing that part. Y'all leaving very distracting comments right now.
And a lot of them say it just feels so weird to not have like a physical audience with them. I do agree with that, because it's strange to just hear someone finish a song and nobody's saying anything. It is definitely weird. Brad Paisley voiced his concern in a fun way. He set up stuffed animals in his studio, and he set up a recorded applause, and it was just so interesting. Ready?
This is the crowd.
All right, and cheering crowd, go on. You know, it seems so realistic, not because it sounded perfectly right, but it's something that clicks in your head. If you hear people clapping, that's just like, it's universal. When somebody finishes a song, that's what you think you're going to hear. I was really expecting that, and when Brad Paisley did such a thing, it was just really interesting. Charlie Crockett says that it feels a lot like the early days of his career.
Which oddly feels like being back on the street again, except there's nobody here.
It's pretty fun.
You know, it just feels strange not to have an audience, and that's what he relates it to, and I thought that was pretty cool, actually. With that being said, this is a time where your favorite musicians, or not even your favorite musicians, big and small musicians, anybody, they're all out of work. They're all effectively unemployed. They're really relying on, you know, the online sales, the music sales, the merchandise sales, and the generous donations from people with those online tip jars that I talked about. At this time, you know, most shows are just postponed at least until June or July. I know that firsthand because there was a concert I was planning on going to in March. They rescheduled it for May, and they decided that May is no longer a good time. So May is what they're trying to reschedule now. This is a rough time for many musicians, and their careers not going quite as they planned. The ways you can support your favorite musicians is through those online sales. You know, if you're not financially stable, I understand that. If you can afford to, you know, help out your favorite musician, even if you go online, you buy a shirt, you're getting something out of it and you're still supporting that musician. If you buy their music, you can listen to their music and you're helping them. You know, you're getting something out of it too. I think I can speak for most musicians and say that they really appreciate it because this is a rough time for them. That's all there is for today's episode, folks. I hope you stay safe and don't panic too much, but stay conscientious so your favorite musicians can get back on the road real soon and get back to doing what they love. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.